Hooligans! We back for another episode of the Hooligans League podcast. We are officially at the halfway point of the regular season. Flying through it, but we still got plenty of time. Don't worry. What a week we just had. The rich get richer. The poor get poorer. Everyone in between. We just basically fighting to the death, trying to be on the right side of things. Ring the alarms, another crazy trade, probably the biggest one of the year, and also probably the biggest injury of the year. Power rankings, RMS, a lot happened. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. Episode 8, Week 8, let's go.
Best in the business when it comes to a quarterback sneak.
All right. Let's get into last week's matchups like we always do. First up, we had me versus Dick. Now, Little Debbie was a great science teacher, but that did not stop me from giving her a lesson. Ran away with this, but with a near 50-point win, putting me to 4th place and Dickie to 11th. Sorry, Little Deb. Still appreciate your time in the 6th grade. Gary went back to his track days, just running laps around Booze and Brennan, who must have passed out during F block and missed this week's matchup of the week event. Won by 36 there, putting Radler and Gary in 8th place, and Booze and Brennan in 9th. Then LaBelle snuck out a close one over Senor Holmes, but some might say that is because of some pobre decisions, if you know what I mean. Winning by 0.4, leaving James and LaBelle at 10th place, up to 10th place now, and Silverman and Pobre Holmes at 6th. And let's see here. We had, Mr. Wing. Mr. Wing showed Sforza that he really isn't that special this week, with a 25-point win, leaving Jovi in last and Dan still in 2nd. Then we had Dr. Mark. Dr. Mark, man. He's just whacking it all over the league right now. And unfortunately, Berkey had to take it. This week in our matchup of the week, a 1 versus 2 battle. Chow's still in first, 6-1, 5 wins in a row. And Andy is in 3rd. So there's still 2 top dogs. It's not like Andy fell far. But Mark is just letting us have it. And then for our last matchup of the week, we learned that Koski's Claw, it's just not long enough to reach Trish. I mean, he's trying to get her, but he couldn't get her without Justin Jefferson and Jalen Hurts. And he lost a close one. Chris was able to jump up to 7th place now with that win. And Rick is down to 5th at 4-3. So a fun week. A lot of movement in the power rankings and the standings, especially between like 8th and 3rd place. And it's going to be interesting. We're at the halfway point. We'll see how things start to develop over the next couple of weeks. For individual performances, I mean, Burrow, Jacobs, Eckler, Chase, just running through the league right now. They can't be stopped. They're still hot. They've been on this top 8 list a number of times, especially those Bengals. Dalton and Danny Dimes, they dropped some big showings. Kenny Walker officially breaking out, and then Mahomes being Mahomes. So if you had one of those guys, or 2 of them in some cases, you're definitely feeling good. I imagine most of the guys who had those players won, but maybe I'm not. It's a cruel game. For winners, Chow behind his massive games from his quarterbacks again. and 155-yard performance from Tyler Boyd. He walks away with the Andy Bobandy Team of the Week award, scoring 163 points. And then best loser is Andy, because unfortunately he had to go up against Chow. And it wasn't a crazy week for Andy, but still scored 126 points. So he had to go against Chow. He had to take that loss. Top 4 performance in the week, but at least you get $10 because of it. And honestly, that's pretty much all because of Josh Jacobs, who had a 150-yard, 3-tutty, 35-point game. So money coming to you as I publish this. You'll have it in your Venmo before you even watch this video. For Survivor, I mean, we all saw this coming. Jovi's team has been struggling with 4 of his top 6 picks busting, with between Jonathan Taylor, Pitts, Damian Harris, and DJ Moore. That's tough. And then you combine that with getting quarterback super late. It's been a disaster ever since week 1. But his team does look like it may be turning around. Some of these players I just talked about are coming around. But regardless, he's now finally, even though he's been at last place for a while, out of the Survivor pool. So, bummer for you, Jovi. Again, thank you for service. Thank you for your service. All right, let's talk end of season awards. So Chow's still in first place, still has a strong hold of that number 1 seed. If anything, it's probably getting stronger, given the fact that there's only one team a game behind him with Dan Santola, and then multiple teams at 4-3, 2 games behind him. So Chow needs to take a loss soon if we're going to keep this close. For most points, still Andy, but now Chow has jumped me and Dan to go to second with his big week. So the most points still looking like it should be Andy, but we're entering bye season now, and things are going to get tricky. And if Chow stays hot, I mean, he came in second last week in points, and now first, he might be taking that top spot. Then for survivors, we only have 5 remaining, y'all. Andy, once again, Dan Silverman, Dick, who's in second to last, me, and Radler are the 5 remaining survivors. So coming up close. That wraps up our $50 prizes. Then for best week, Dan Santola still holding on to that title. No one's even coming close. Not yet, at least. But Chow did make his way into the top 4 performances of the season. You just don't get any money for that. And then most points against, Andrew, once again, listed as the number 1 team for a prize, followed by Dick, me, and James. For money earners, Andy, his crown of top earner just only gets stronger. Now he's up to $50. Still multiple teams with 30, multiple teams with 20. Congratulations, Chow. I called you out last week, said you didn't have any money. You need to get that money, and you won $20. Joe V, Dick, take notes. You two are still the only 2 teams who haven't earned a single dollar. So that wraps up our weekly winners and our season-long winners. Let's get into the manager of the week. So you all probably remember Silverman getting manager of the week last week for his excellent pickup of Deion Jackson. Well, he is the manager of the week once again, but for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. See, I mentioned that Dan went against James and lost in a close one, only lost by 0.4, and that some might say it was his pobre decision-making that led to this loss. And I'd say it was. I'd say I'd even go as far to say as he was warned. Not on the podcast, but in other conversations. Now you might recall last week, Dan and I made a trade where he acquired Brandon Ayuk. And as the week approached, I asked why he wasn't starting Ayuk, and he wanted to continue rolling with Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, if you look, he had his first real big bust game last week. Only 5 targets, 1.6 points. We have a new quarterback coming in. Carson Wentz went down. Now we have Heineke. To me, it seemed like you would play the guy you traded for in this position, especially since Ayuk is coming off his biggest game of the year, especially since Jimmy seems to really like him. But he wanted to roll with what's been working for him. So he played Curtis Samuel and not the guy he just traded for, knowing that he was trading for him because he didn't love his wide receiver depth. And it cost him. Ayuk didn't outscore Curtis Samuel by a ton, but he outscored him enough for him to get the victory. So instead of being 5-2, Pobre Holmes is 4-3. And for that, you are the manager of the week, the dumbass manager of the week. Sorry, man. Tried to help you. Honorable mentions. Rick, I hate doing this to you because I feel like I don't even blame you, but you're the dumbass manager. Honorable mention this week. Again, back-to-back weeks where you've had a tough decision. Your tough decision this week was P.J. Walker versus Brett Ripien. P.J. Walker, who everyone thought this offense would suck against the Bucs, or Brett Ripien, someone entering a terrible offense who we haven't seen in a while. That's a tough decision, but ultimately you made the wrong one, and that cost you the game. And that's back-to-back weeks where if you would have guessed correctly between some tough decisions, you could have won. You could easily be 6-1 right now. I'm sure you're fully aware of this, but you could be 6-1 with that roster. Whew. I'm glad you're not. Can't lie there. So you're an honorable mention for just guessing incorrectly. 2 more research next time. You should have known that PJ Walker was going to light up the Bucs. Jeez. Then second honorable mention is Jovi. Jovi's fighting for his life at the bottom of the standings. So I understand he's acting desperate. But he started 2 tight ends last week. One of them being Kyle Pitts, who's been costing you all season long. A lot of people are dropping Pitts. I don't believe you're starting Pitts this week, but you chose to start him with Everett last week when you did have players with higher upside. Again, I can't hate on you for not starting DJ Moore, just that in a vacuum. But if it's DJ Moore or Kyle Pitts, I mean, DJ Moore has been better than Kyle Pitts. And it cost you. It didn't cost you the L. You were going to lose no matter what. But it did cost you the survivor pool. If you would have played DJ Moore instead of Pitts, you would not have been eliminated from the survivor pool. That would have been Dickey. So Dickey, if you end up winning the whole $50, I think you should thank Jovi for this because that play single-handedly saved you and took out Jovi. So those are our managers of the week. Let's get into the injuries, our favorite part. All right, so the injuries. Yep, favorite part. Honestly, this one feels better. This one feels a lot better because a lot of people came back off injury last week, which is really exciting. There also wasn't a ton of injury questions going into the week. I still am putting less time into this page because it is a pain in the ass to go through everyone's lineups and check to see every injured player and what they did, what they didn't. But I did pay attention to at least the new injuries. Probably missed some, but because there were a lot. First ones off the board that I got to talk about are mine. Brees Hall, number 6 RB on the season and trending up, goes down. That sucked. He's done for the year. Mike Williams also goes down. That sucks. Lazard, Bellinger, both for Silverman, both injured in the game, have to leave early. St. Brown for Jovi leaves super early with a concussion, but again, maybe not a concussion. Some questions there. Rick lost Njoku and Chris lost DK Metcalf. So just a number of injuries. I know a lot of us play in multiple leagues. I'm sure we're all feeling it across multiple leagues, but in this league, man, sucks to be on this list right now. That combined with only a couple buys this week, the Chiefs and the Chargers, some big players on those two teams, obviously, but not as many as last week. It's going to lead us to spend some money, and boy, did we spend some money. You know what I mean? It's that time.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Who's spending money?
Dollar, dollar.
All right.
Dollar, dollar.
I feel like I'm going to have to explain myself this week. All right. So a lot of money spent, a lot of players spent on. We obviously got to start with the biggest transaction of the year. I blew my load on Ellinger. $54. Now, I watched a lot of tape. Can't lie. I watched a lot of tape. I was impressed. I think he'll do well on the offense. I knew I was going to trade Herbert. I didn't want Rick to have him. There was a number of reasons why I spent $54. And it was a lot. And we'll find out if it was the right number to pull. Chris spent $12 on MVS. Dick, $9 on Ty Johnson. Dan Santola, $9 on Greg Dulcich. Rick, $7 on Bass. Dick, $3 on Indy D. Rick, again, $3 on Traylon Burks. Dan Santola, $3 on Paris Campbell. Silverman, $3 on Marquise Goodwin. And $2 on Jake Elliott. And then Rick snapping up our boy Zappy for $1. A lot of guys. And then there's more who went for free or in the early morning. Let's see how we did. It wasn't great. So the Ellinger pickup could have been a lot worse, but it still wasn't great. Dick made a $39 bid on Ellinger. Probably thought he had it in the books, given that Heineke went for $32 the week before. But no, I was making sure I was getting this. I could have saved $15 there. That sucks, but I'm okay with it. Chris, you could have got MVS for free. Dick, you could have got Ty Johnson for free. Dan Santola, you could have got Greg Dulcich for $5. Could have saved a little bit. Not bad there. Rick could have saved a little bit on Tyler Bass as well. A lot of people spending money on Tyler Bass. And this is now what, your backup kicker? So some interesting spending there, but you got your guy. Dick, Indy D, free. Rick, Traylon Burks, free. Dan Santola, Paris Campbell, free again. Dan Silverman, Marquise Goodwin, free. And Jake Elliott, free. We butchered this, but we really butchered it. We all could have saved a lot of money. But I guess most of you don't have to worry about that nearly as much as I do now, because I'm down to like $17. It's a real good position to be in. $17 for the rest of the season. We're only halfway through, and we still have playoffs. Man, but I got a plan. I'm sticking to it.
I'm Pickle Rick.
That's right. It's Pickle Rick. Rick Tracker. His transactions still going through the roof. He's easily trending towards 100 now. He's at 44 transactions, and we're just at the halfway point of the year. Now, as long as he makes the playoffs, this seems like a lock to hit 100, and we are going to celebrate when he gets there. I'm in second. I'm becoming a distant second now with 32. I'm almost closer to third than I am to Rick. And I'm very interested to see if that happens soon. Because third most is only 19. So, Rick, we're proud of you, buddy. Keep it up. Keep making plays. We want to see you hit that century mark. Power rankings. It's that time. It is that time. Now, for the power rankings, I think I'm going to try something, or I'm going to talk to Graceffa next week about making a slight alteration to the formula to give the standings a little bit more weight and to also account for the discrepancy in points. So that if you have a monster week, you get a little bit more credit for that than just being listed as the top scorer. If you beat everyone by a lot, you should get a ton. You should get a significant advantage in the rankings over that, or more than just what is being calculated today. And if you only beat someone by a little bit, that should also be reflective that if you only were 1 point behind someone, it shouldn't be a huge discrepancy in the rankings. So going to make some changes next week. For this week, we're sticking to the same formula. Graceffa, he put a lot of work in, and he wasn't happy with me, but he also wasn't happy with you. Graceffa said, stop begging. Now, there's actually only one culprit of this. Only one culprit has been campaigning for the power rankings. And this person has done it multiple times throughout the season. Got hot early in the season and made some subtle comments about going up in the power rankings. He's gone down since then. I think he lost immediately, actually, after then. Yeah, that was after the first week of the year. This person has now texted me multiple times this week about the power rankings. Graceffa wants you to stop. He doesn't give a fuck what you have to say about you, Chow. That's right. Graceffa didn't want you in the top spot. He did not want you to be there, especially since the numbers don't quite have you there yet. But I had to step in. You're on a 5-game winning streak. You're number one in the standings, number 2 in points. You just beat the number 1 team head to head. I'm not going to defend you next time if you campaign, because you deserve the top spot right now. But Graceffa wants you to know he does not care about your campaigns. He does not care about you where you think you should be on the power rankings, and wants you to leave me alone about it. But for now, you're the top spot. You will receive no penalty. But that's your only warning. Berkey, you lost. You lost to Chow. But you were still top 4 in points in the week. You're still earning money. And that was without Cup. Maybe someone else. You're not dropping far for losing to the number 1 team on the power rankings. You fall to 2. Pretty simple. I'm finally back into the top 3. I don't even know if I've ever been to the top 3. 4 might have been my highest reach. And that's behind a couple top weeks. I was number 1 last week, number 2 this week. It was looking real bleak with losing. Brees Hall and Mike Williams going down, but Fields saved me, allowing me to make moves again. I'm on a little streak. I'm on the second highest streak of the season with 2. It's not quite 5, but we're climbing up. So Lent at 3. I believe the numbers might have even had me at 2, but I don't currently feel comfortable placing me above Berkey. Not yet, at least. Rick, you were crushed by your bye weeks. It's that simple. Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, that's a lot of points. Your team is projected for like 147 this week. So I think you're in a pretty good spot. It's really just those mistakes that have cost you, because if you had made the right plays, you're 6-1. You're the number 1 team in the analyzer. You're still not one of the top point scorers, but your record and your projection moving forward, Rick easily is the number 1 team in the power rankings if he just guesses correctly in the past 2 weeks. So you just got to manage your team better, bud. Manage your team better, and you're going to climb. You know how I feel about your team. It makes me nervous. Mr. Wing, dubs matter, and you did just that. So you, unfortunately, that just means you stick flat, though. Couldn't have you pass Koski just yet because of the roster he has right now, and because you didn't really score that many points, but you don't drop down. Thankfully for you, you get Josh Allen back, and this is a chance for you to start climbing back up the ranking. And then last on the top 6, we got Gary, we got Radler. Keep climbing, brother. Top 3 in scoring in back-to-back weeks. 2 wins from that. If Gus Edwards can ride his hot start, you might become a problem for the rest of the league. That would be, if he can turn into a high-end RB2, it's going to be scary. So respect to you. You're working hard. You're coming up. Chris, close win over Rick, so you get a bump up. As I mentioned, it could have easily been a loss, but I'm still giving you a bump up, still giving you the benefit of the doubt, because that one trade, ETN is going to be better now, and he's already been hot. And James Robinson potentially going to be the starter in the Jets at some point in the season. So combine the win with that trade, you get a 1 spot jump in the power rankings. Silverman, you unfortunately fall 2 spots because of one small mistake. You start Ayuk, you get the win. Maybe you're at 6. It's hard to tell. Got a reward winning at this point of the year, especially with the margins being so small. So not much to talk about there. James, you jumped Caveney simply because you won. And that was because of Silverman's move. Even though you only won by 0.4, we're still giving you the benefit of the doubt because you won. Caveney lost. So he goes down, you go up. It's that simple. You better hope Goff, though. He really needs to turn it around if you want to continue climbing, because that has not looked good. Caveney, got to get dubs without Diggs and Buffalo D scoring you, 40? Is that what they usually score you? That obviously hurts to have them on bye, but you got to find ways to get wins or at least put up some points. I think you were just over 100. Thankfully for you, them and Cook are back this week, so you should be putting up more points. Dickey, man, you've been screwed by San Fran all season long. Eli Mitchell going down. Jeff Wilson has been good for you. I did give you crap about having multiple 49er running backs, but he has been good for you. But then CMC just comes and destroys that, takes away all his value. Feeling for you, but if you're going to flaunt your multiple rings around all the time, like that somehow has anything to do with this year, I can't feel that bad for you. So you've gotten to enjoy the sweetest sweets of fantasy football. Enjoy your fucking L's. No one wants to hear about your 2 rings that you fell into with a 6-7 record. Jesus. You can tell I really want to win. And last, Jovi, I just don't know, man. I don't know. Some years people just get shit luck. It's looking like you had some shitty luck. I don't hate really any of the picks you made. Maybe you should have pivoted sooner, but it's been tough. It's been tough. Let's see if you can at least just sneak in some money. But you start this week with a win. That's what you got to do. But it is looking bad. So that's the power rankings. Chow, the new number 1. Jovi, still the bottom 12. And everyone else moving around, trying to make sure they can secure a spot in the playoffs. Before we close things up, big trade. Big trade. Blockbuster. Let's get into this really quickly. I love that we only have one trade this week, so we can actually really talk about it. Justin Herbert, who's on bye, going to Radler for CMC, who's on bye next week. Those are obviously the headliners of this trade. Radler desperately needs a quarterback. I just lost my arguably RB1. We make a swap there. And with the buys coming up so close, it's going to be interesting. But that's fun. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Worked on that for a couple days. Higbee, a bench tight end for Radler, becomes my starter. My starter, Tanyan, goes to him for depth. Not a, complete needle mover there, but something to note, especially at the position that is just so shitty. And then we also exchange wide receivers. Juju, the current number 19 wide receiver on the year, 25 rest of season, who's been hot the past 2 weeks, but on bye this week. He comes to me and to provide Radler with a bye week replacement. Christian Kirk, the number 10 wide receiver in the season and number 23 rest of season, goes to him. So wild trade, swapping wide receivers, swapping tight ends, and swapping a RB1 and a QB1 and just making it work. So we'll see how things play out. It's going to be interesting, but I am feeling very good about it and I'm very happy we made this deal come together. So lastly, we got our matchups. Again, this is starting the first half. This is the first game of the second half of the season. We're also just 3 weeks away from the trade party, y'all. So note that. Andy, once again, in a matchup in the week. He faces me, the 4 seed. So we have a 3 seed versus 4 seed matchup. Really big. Right now we're seen as, leaders of the league, but with one loss here, we've moved to 500. And there are a number of 4-3 teams who could easily pass us. So that's our first matchup of the week. Our second one is basically the stress bowl. It is number 12 Jovi versus number 10 James. I know y'all are going to be stressing. I'm stressing about potentially going 500. Like James is stressing about potentially being even deeper at 10th, and Jovi is just trying to get his second win of the year. So that is one to watch. And then I have a bonus matchup of the week. And we might have to do this until Chow loses. Number 1 seed Chow without Mahomes versus number 7 Chris without Eckler. Will Chris end Chow's streak? We'll see. If not, Chow could, which is crazy. Chow could potentially send Chris all the way down to 10th place, I think, If the things fall correctly, Chris could fall all the way to 10th. So big stakes here. Chow could lose his number one spot as quickly as he's got it, but Chris could fall deep. So those are our matchups of the week. One quick note: start thinking about the trade party. I'm going to be establishing like a sign up sheet so people can bring shit, talking snacks, food, things of that nature. I'm not trying to do all the shopping and then deal with all the money afterwards. We're going to have a sign up sheet. You're going to pick something you're going to bring, and everyone's going to do that just to make it easy. So just start thinking about what you're going to bring for stuff. I'll probably have that set up in the next week or so. Besides that, yeah, that's really all I got. So good luck this week. We got Buccaneers Ravens tonight for Thursday Night Football, and then a ton of games on Sunday, and I believe we have another London game. So a long day of football on Sunday. So thanks for listening, and good luck this week. Peace out.
Yeah, I don't really know what that means, so I can't answer the question. I'm just trying to win games.